is Jamie Ellis, and I'm in Dr. Strange's EDM 310 classroom at the University of South Alabama, and this is my presentation on George Washington Carver, the man many of you know as the Peanut Man. George Washington Carver was born in the small town of Diamond, Missouri. He was born to marry a slave owned by Moses and Susan Carver. Moses, he looks like a very unhappy man, but he was actually a pretty jovial kind of guy, and he was actually very anti-slavery, but a man in his neighborhood owed him $700, and he accepted Mary as the price of that $700, even though he was against slavery. Mary had two children, Jim and George, and they were born in 1964. Well, George was born in 1964, just before the end of the Civil War. So there was a lot of fighting going on, and some slave raiders came and kidnapped George and Mary and took them away. And Moses spent quite a bit of money hiring people out to try to go find them. They never were able to find Mary, but they found George on the side of the road, very, very sick. He was sick all his childhood. When he was about 13 years old, though, he really, really wanted an education, and Diamond, Missouri was such a small town, and he was, of course, African American at the end, post-slavery. So there was no real education benefits available to him in Diamond, Missouri, so he left. He visited about 10 different places trying to get an education, and one of those places was Neosho, about 9 miles outside of Diamond. And he witnessed something really terrible for him at a young age in Neosho. He witnessed a lynching of an African American, and this is something that would affect him for the rest of his life. One of the things that he really wanted to do, though, with his education was actually art. He was always interested in plants and such, so he would paint plants, he would paint flowers, but art was what he wanted to do before he ever became interested in peanuts and other agricultural things. He pursued an art degree in Simpson College. He spent a couple of years there, but one of his closest confidants at Simpson College told him that she didn't think that he would be able to make any money with his artwork because he's an African American, and she encouraged him to apply at the Iowa State College of Agriculture and Mechanic Arts, which he did, and he was accepted. He was one of the first African Americans there, and he was never really accepted by his peers because of his heritage. But he did do fairly well at Iowa State College, and he graduated with his degree, and he even made enough friends there that they got together and they bought him a really nice microscope, which was one of the first agricultural instruments that he would have when he went on later to teach at Tuskegee Institute. Speaking of Tuskegee Institute, Booker T. Washington was the president of Tuskegee Institute at the time, and he was at odds with this man, W.E.B. Du Bois. They had a fight about what African Americans should be doing to help themselves. W.E.B. Du Bois felt that they should be focusing on things like agriculture and farming and helping themselves maintain a lifestyle, whereas Booker T. Washington felt that all African Americans should be pursuing an erudite kind of education, that they should be pursuing the arts and English and history, and they should be learning and making themselves better. So that was a bit of a fight, and despite Booker T. Washington's feelings and the fact that George Washington Carver would very much side with W.E.B. Du Bois on the matter, Booker T. Washington asked George Washington Carver to come from Iowa State to teach at Tuskegee Institute. At Tuskegee Institute, when he got there from Iowa, he had no school building and no instruments to speak of except for the microscope that his fellows had bought him at Iowa State. So before he could even begin teaching his students, he had to create the instruments and build the schoolhouse for them. One of the things that he did while at Tuskegee Institute was create the Jessup wagon, which was sort of a mobile schoolhouse. What he would do is he would take with him on the Jessup wagon soil with high nutrient content in it, plants that he had planted, tomatoes, vegetables, etc., that he had planted with his style of agriculture, and he would take them out into rural Alabama and show the poor black farmers in Alabama how to really plant the things that they needed, how to utilize the correct soil, and really build up a proper farm. Including one of the things that he did was encourage the use of peanuts, because before his time, the peanuts were being used as feed for hogs, but he thought that because peanuts help put nutrients back into the soil, that poor farmers should be really, really, really relying on the peanut to enrich the soil so they could grow other better things later on. He created many, many things in his laboratory, including he used peanut oil. Actually, he thought that his peanut oil that he used would be a good cure for polio. That didn't turn out to be true, but he did create the peanut oil. He also created cosmetics, bricks, toys, and all kinds of other things from soybeans, peanuts, all kinds of stuff. The only thing that he didn't create that everybody thinks he did was peanut butter. And lastly, the last thing I want to talk about for George Washington Carver is his many, many friendships that he developed over the years. He kept friends with everybody that he ever met that he got along with, and he would write letters to them on a weekly basis. He would just keep up with everybody. So he was a very gregarious man to begin with, and one of his big friends was Henry Ford, the king of the automobile. They were such good friends that in later years, Henry Ford built an elevator for him in his schoolhouse so that he could get up and down the stairs in his old age. And those are the last things that I want to talk about for George Washington Carver, the Peanut Man. If there are any other questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the comment section of this blog. Thank you very much.